Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any adjustments to the agenda?
There are two adjustments to the agenda. We'd like to add consideration and approval of an item that came up just yesterday. Literally, the Facilities and Transportation Committee discussed and approved, and we were under a time crunch, so we'd like to add that. And then we did add an executive session to discuss part one of my evaluation.
Great, thank you.
I move to adjust the agenda as recommended by the superintendent.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item D, approval of minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 13th, 2024 school board meeting as presented.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item E, communications and correspondence.
I have two letters of resignation for you that came in at the end of the summer. One is Carissa Paquette, who is an ed tech, as well as Aaron Mercier, and then Scott Belarjan, assistant principal at Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. So I'm sending around those letters.
Thank you. Administrative reports. Nikki?
Hello, everybody. I'm Nikki Chan, Assistant Superintendent here. I'll just start off by saying, we did it. We started off another school year, and we're all still standing, and we think that we've had a really positive start to the school year. Most of my report, though, is about prior, at the end of the summer. So just want to welcome everybody back into our schools, and like I said, I do think that we had a great couple of startup weeks and looking forward to really getting in the groove with people. Thinking about the work that has been done in the past month, the continuous theme with the work that I've done is professional learning. So we did some great professional learning in August. July and August, we did tons of professional learning, almost hit every single content area, which was hard to do, but also felt really good. We worked with social studies specifically in the beginning of August, and we did some great work with our scope and sequence, which is something that we haven't done in a long time, really thinking about what we teach in social studies and how we teach it and what each grade level topic, themes are. We also looked a lot at Wabanaki Studies resources because that is a strong and hot topic in social studies right now, making sure that our Native American studies resources are appropriate and sensitive, and sometimes that leads to teachers being a little unsure of what they should teach or what they should show or say. So we did some PD on that, and we do have some strong connections with some Native American leaders, tribal leaders in our area, as well as resources offered by Woodlawn. So we looked through some of those this summer. We also hosted letters for administrators training. So we've talked a lot about letters, that very intensive training for best practices in reading instruction that we had 42 of our teachers attend. This summer, we also were not only receivers of the professional development, but we hosted professional development for others in our county. So we were leaders and inviting others in to join us in that professional learning, and also people from Penobscot County came. So we were able to have 2 long days of professional learning about reading comprehension and word study, and we will continue that work virtually through this year, and then we will finish up with 2 professional development days next summer with that same team. And so it was really great. For example, Mrs. Clifford, she is the only K-8 teacher, K-8 principal in our leadership group, but she was able to connect with other K-8 principals again around the county or in Penobscot County, or a special ed director. And so we really opened up networks, but also were able to think about and learn what others do in their districts for literacy instruction. So that was very beneficial. opening days with district and school-wide professional development, we offered a lot of important sessions ranging from safety and security to instructional practices to assessment development and behavior support. I did provide some information for you in my report regarding what we offered. So when you get the virtual link to this, you can look at our website to check out what we did. But also I have the feedback there for you to see. I know you like seeing that. We had 205 responses for our district-wide opening PD, which is just about all the people who participated. And you can see that for each of the 4 sessions, people were asked to rate the session 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. And I know the viewers at home can't see this, but a majority of the scores were 5, being the excellent rating. And the rest of them essentially were 4s. So, on the first session, for example, there were only 12% that were rated at a 3, maybe in the middle. 31% rated it a 4, and 51% rated it a 5, meaning excellent professional learning. And if you scroll through, the next couple of sessions, it looks exactly the same, or even better. And so we're very proud that our staff seem to be appreciative of what we gave, and again, there was choice just like last year, so an employee was able to kind of look at sessions and what was offered and what they needed for their job role and make some choices throughout the day. And I think that's paid off for us. We'll continue to do that, and we are getting the positive remarks for that, so that feels great. There's a couple of other things in my report. I'm sure that Superintendent Bowles will talk a little bit about Avery Lane, so I'll leave that to her, but just there has been a lot of hustle and bustle moving us through our old central office to our new central office. But the other major thing I wanted to talk about is our online program. We have had some press on that, both in the news and in the newspaper lately, but I wanted to touch upon it here. So this summer, well, actually, way back to the budget process last year, we identified that we really needed to have a program and a staff member in order to offer a virtual program for our students. We identified that grades 7 through 12 really were the best students to identify first to work with an online program. And so this summer, we were able to hire a staff member and develop, for starters, the name and the philosophy of our program. So we developed the FIRST Academy. FIRST is all capitals, and those letters do stand for something. So it stands for the Flexible Instructional Resources for Student Transformation. And that really is the whole philosophy of our program, that we will provide a flexible pathway for students to get what they need. That transformation in many ways, whether it's transforming from not being able to come to school at all in order to someday get to that point, and or it may never be that. It may be that they're working in a hybrid state where they're taking some classes at our schools and some at home, or maybe they're super advanced and they want to just kind of speed up the process or take more advanced coursework in our schools. And this would be that flexible pathway so that they can achieve and transform into the person that they want to become, and really the community member that they want to become. So something that I wanted to highlight in the work that we've done to develop the academy is that, number one, it is not online learning like we had in COVID. It is, it's not hybrid like we had in COVID. We don't even want to use the word remote because it's not what that program or that scenario was for anybody as we had shifted into the world the way it was back then. Our program is developed to be a rigorous pathway. If students are in high school, they have the same exact expectations and credits. They will receive an Ellsworth High School diploma, so we are really making sure that it's not just quote-unquote an easy track, or somebody might feel that they're at home and just able to do whatever they'd like all day and then do maybe a little bit of work online here and there once a week. It is definitely not that. It is flexible. A student may take a traditional course load. They may take 6 or 7 classes, do work on those things every single day, and pretty much parallel a normal student at Ellsworth High School, just they're doing it at home. They may also not be able to do that. They may want to focus on 1 or 2 classes right now and do that heavy. Work through that today, work through that tomorrow, work through that Thursday. And they'll be able to finish that class much quicker. They might finish that class or those classes in a month or a month and a half. Then moving forward in, let's say, October, they'll take a shot at the next couple of classes. And throughout the year, they would still complete the same number of courses as everybody else. In the end, their situation, whether it's a social emotional issue, they may be homeless, there may be other scenario factors happening, they may not be able to complete the same number of credits that everybody else is. And so again, we'd create a flexible pathway and timeline for that student to get their diploma. So we did hire a teacher, quote unquote, but we really feel that Mr. Schaefer is our more of a case manager. So he will be working with the families as a team in order to create a plan for each one of our students and really check in with them individually at least once a week in order to make sure that the student is on track to meet whatever plan that is for that student. And that personal touch for us is important. We're not just going to plug and play our students into online software and then check in with them as they finish that credit or that course. There's a lot more to it. And one of the most important things that we want to do is create a community with our First Academy. And so those students will be doing some shared community service and community events, if possible. It's not a requirement, but that's really something that we do want to ask that our students engage in. And so that they do understand that they're still part of Ellsworth, they are an Ellsworth Eagle, they're just taking a different pathway, but they still matter just as much. And so we're well on our way to doing that. So that's exciting. And as of today, we do have 15 students already, so almost a full caseload, and 1 middle school student just about ready to be in the chute. So I do see that growing exponentially this year. I mean, we've really only opened the door the last couple weeks and it's already quote unquote full. And so I do see that growing and more talks about that in the future, what that means for us if the numbers grow just like Bucksport and Brewer did. The final thing I just wanted to mention is just some funding things that we've been working on. One, just a celebration that with our ESEA application, this is due to some hard work of people in the room and a variety of our teams, including our principals. We submitted our application for ESEA funding on time this year, August 1st, like we should. And we have already gotten it approved before our first payroll. So just really getting on track with some of those things, which is a huge accomplishment and it feels really great. The other thing that we've been doing is spending down a lot of old grants, which has been a lot, and it is a lot to manage. But we have been able to do that, and again, I'd like to thank Lee Elliott for really helping me do that and be the point person on a lot of the things that we've been able to do in all of our schools with that funding. So we've been working directly with our principals, asking them what they need, how they need it, what PD, what materials, and we've been able to provide that, so that feels great. And that includes closing out a lot of the COVID grants. So any of the COVID money, the ESSER money, that needs to be allocated by September 30th. So we do have several pots of money, whether they were the pre-K grant, regular ESSER 3, some homeless prevention money, and a couple of other pots of money that we're working hard to just spend every drop because we want to make sure that we can use that in order to support and serve our students best. I think that's it.
A lot going on.
A lot going
Yeah.
on, but really exciting stuff.
Nikki, I have a question. How does a student go about getting in the First Academy? Can any student who wants to learn virtually, can they do that, or what
Yeah.
are the requirements?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked. There's 2 pathways basically for a student to be enrolled in the First Academy. One would be a recommendation from the school. So as you know, in both middle school and in high school, we do like some risk review and bar processes where we regularly talk about students, and that is their performance, it could be their behaviors, it could be their attendance, and there are certain risk teams that would talk about student names on a regular basis. After a short period of time, now what would happen is that if a name came up that student wasn't attending or certainly struggling in school, that would probably be an option that we kind of take a look at. Does this student, would they be a great candidate for the First Academy? Because either they're not coming at all, and we know the barrier is some social anxiety or many different varieties or factors. So if the school identified the student, they would then reach out to that family and student, and there is a questionnaire that the family would do and the student would complete. And then there is an in-person meeting to kind of just see if it's a good match. Obviously, in that case, we would try our best to make it known to the family and student that this would be a great opportunity for them to serve whatever barriers either happening in school or being put up so that they're not even attending school. The other thing that can happen is that a student or family can also just skip that process and actually connect with our guidance department and self-identify that I really do feel that I am a student, or my son or daughter is a student that would best be benefited from this program. And then the process would be the same. We would give them the questionnaires, they would fill that out, and no matter what track you kind of enter through, after you fill out the questionnaire, which is really just talking about why you might feel like you want to do this or why you're a best fit, then there's an in-person meeting with our teacher. And that really goes over kind of what our philosophy is, what this looks like, ask questions about what the student needs are or family needs are. And most importantly, it sets the groundwork that this team in the room right now is a team for success for the student. It's not just on our staff member. It's not just on the student. They're on their own. You know, they do the classes, and good luck to you. Everybody in this room, in this meeting right now, we're gonna make plans for success, and we're gonna also hold each other accountable for success. And so it will be a continued conversation and check-in. And for some students, that may be nagging. It may be nagging from the parent end to do the classes. It may be nagging from our teacher end to do the classes. You know, I see that you're not quite on track. But again, just that team approach to make sure the student is successful and they're not just, you know, hanging out online and lost. So if that goes well, which every single one of them have gone very well thus far, including parents being moved to tears in these meetings, saying like, I'm so happy for this, and like this is life-changing for our family right now, and very thankful for what is being offered to the student. I'm getting kind of emotional thinking about it. If that feels like a best fit, then the student will be in. So even when I mentioned, you know, we're full, we are not full, but like the numbers are already up there. And so, but if there continues to be a student need, we will serve that student need. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I've had the opportunity to have some conversations with Mr. Schaefer, and I love that he refers to himself as a coach.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the teacher, but really I'm the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at some of the pieces that are going into this, I think it's going to be really great to help prepare students for adulting.
Yeah.
But also, I think it has a strong possibility to really connect some of those kids who aren't feeling as connected. And I obviously, in another position, right, I work with people with substance use disorder, and quite often, now I'm going to get emotional, quite often what leads to that is that disconnect
Yep.
that they feel from their community and their peers. And just seeing this, I think that these types of programs are what is going to equal prevention in the future for our kids and for our communities, because not only is it an opportunity for them to be able to feel a part of something, but also one of the big things for Mr. Schaefer is people feeling like they're good enough and that they're smart enough, and that with the proper tools that they can be successful. And all of those things are huge for our, for our kids as they grow up, but also especially for those kids that are feeling really disconnected. So.
Yeah, completely. And that's why we feel so strongly about some of those community connections, even if it's just the First Academy connection, whether it's just a weekly Zoom or something that they go do in person, whether it's community service or a field trip. Like, they do matter. They shouldn't be isolated. This isn't just a path to keep them off to the left and hopefully they get their diploma. We're trying to kind of build them back up, include them in whatever way possible, and he really is the right person for the job because he's made some significant connections already, and I'm really proud of that and thankful that we hired him.
Yeah. I just happened to talk to a family who is part of that program. I happened to talk to them yesterday, and they were just so excited about it.
Good.
And I just felt like, wow, the change in the hope in the child was so different that it is worth remarking on. And I'm really happy that our district is doing this. I think we're going to see less dropouts, less other problems. Once people have a diploma, they have so much more in their life, and we're going to make sure that pathway to that is wider.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks.
Mrs. Bowles, you're up.
So, several things to report on this evening. As Nikki said, opening of school, of course, has occurred. I want to thank our nutrition workers, our food service workers on the board for opening day. Staff always appreciates seeing the board and having breakfast as kind of a culminating activity that brings us all together. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank Nikki and our leadership team for putting together a really good couple of days. I think we always could use more time at the beginning of the year to have people settle in and feel good, but those first 2 days were really successful. I think it's also important to report Joe Merrill and Michelle Osborne worked tirelessly starting last spring and over the summer to make sure that every student that walked through the door met the vaccination law requirement. And with some students that required leadership stepping up and making calls. And I am happy to report that we are 100% in compliance with the law. Not all school systems can say that. Joe and Michelle have worked extremely hard. So what that means is a family either has 100% of their vaccinations that are required by law up to date, or we have documentation from the doctor that they're in the cycle, because some vaccinations can't be done all at once. They have to be done over a period of time. So as long as we have the plan from the doctor's office, they are allowed to start attending school, and we are 100%. So that is thanks to their hard work in that area and sending constant updates to all of us about who we need to send letters to and speak with. So I'm really proud of them for their work on that. Open houses are starting up. EEMS was last night. It was fun to see a lot of my former students with children of their own going through open house, a lot of happy faces. The high school and HCTC's open houses are coming up. So I think we've had a really good start. In terms of Avery Lane, a lot of people are asking questions about the move to Avery Lane. So adult education actually made the move first and has been settling in and had students attending and coming to Avery Lane, and that was something we had been worried about. You know, would students find us and access us? And they are, which is awesome. And now all of our offices have been officially moved out of Camden National. We still have some things there. We will finish that over the next week or so. So right now we are all there. And there's some work to do. There's some transitions we're working on. We still have quite a bit of work to do. It's a lot to try to do your regular job and unpack and move and try to make the building look presentable. But even visitors that were there today who came for meetings were like, Amy, this is so professional and the parking is great and this is going to be a fantastic space. So that the public knows, adult education is open. We are not open to the public yet in terms of central office. We are certainly trying to do our day-to-day, but until we have safety and security hammered down there, then we will do an open house for all staff to be able to come see first our new facility, and then we will be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony with the chamber and inviting the public to an open house at that as well, and hopefully that will be soon. But we're super excited. It's been really nice. We're finding our way, and there will be growing pains, I'm sure, as we figure everything out and our protocols and the sharing of the space, but it is a beautiful space, so we're really excited about that.
Can I make a really quick announcement? about that.
Sure.
Do I need to come up here?
Yep.
I just wanted the public to know, in the transition that we're making, I've been trying to work with Google to change our location, and we have not been able to change that location to Avery Lane, but on Google, it says, if you Google Ellsworth Adult Education, it says that we're permanently closed.
Oh, no.
And by no means are we permanently closed. And so I just wanted that to go out to the public, to let them know that that's a technological glitch that I'm actively working on, and I don't really know how to deal with Google.
They got right on the closed part, right? Why can't they get right
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
open
So
somewhere
anyway,
else?
I just wanted to let people know that we have just moved, we have not closed, and we're in a great new space, and we welcome everybody to come find us.
This sounds terrible, Annie, but I've had to deal with Google and a map thing before. You almost have to go down to the bottom and leave a semi-passive, aggressive review and sort of tell that you're not closed, this is where we are, blah, 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 and explain the problem. And Google doesn't really like you to do that because then you're giving them a rather icky review. But yet it does get your point across and people will see it, because my driveway was suddenly the Jordan homestead and we had more people than we ever needed in my yard who wanted to just camp out. And my daughter was not really thrilled with that. And no matter what we did, we couldn't get it changed until someone told me to go on and do that.
I
Leave
sort
a
of
not
did
so
that
friendly
yesterday,
review
and then anyway, not to talk
changed,
about here,
right?
but thank you.
Yes.
It did change. Not the best way, but it does work.
But anyway, it's the only way, it's the only way.
So next in the report is, we have accepted several donations at Hancock County Technical Center today, and by policy, I have to announce those. So if you looked, Bill Tracy's report actually had the most updated list with the amounts and everything in them. I have accepted all of those on the school department's behalf. So thrilled with the donation to Culinary Arts. It was an estate donation. Very generous of the family, and certainly a total gift to that department. So publicly acknowledging these donations. I did want to take a moment, and it's funny because in my board report, I did a section for those in the public about collaboration with the Ellsworth Police Department. And then, of course, today my letter went out about Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about that and some of the things that we've been working on. So there's new, as I've talked about, new leadership at Ellsworth Police Department. Troy Byers and Sean Willey have been great. We communicate regularly. We've met several times. And one of our most emergent things that we've been talking about since August has been updating our emergency management plan and doing further training on best practice in those areas. And we're actually sending someone from the EPD, and Nikki is going as an Ellsworth School Department rep to Alice training in Massachusetts in early October. And that is the most up-to-date recent PD around emergency management plans and how to not only deal with schools' tragedies, but also prevention of them. In addition, we had been talking about behavioral threat management. We talked about it at our board workshop, and that being a topic coming up. So I did do a phone call with the Department of Ed and School Safety Center a few days ago to talk about what are some of the trainings we could offer to leadership team, to our guidance counselors and social workers in this area, and present to the school board about to do threat assessments on students so that staff are trained and identified in saying, okay, we're worried, and what are those signs that we look for. They have training in that now, of course, but this is more up to date, more recent. So we've been working on all these things, and then today happened, and I had to send that letter. I have had a few parents email and reach out, and I'm trying to email them back as quickly as possible. I want to assure the public that we are trying to be extremely transparent about what is happening in our schools, but we cannot say the student's name, the grade level, where in the school, what the threat specifically said. Like, we cannot go into some of the details that some parents would like, and I get it. I have 2 children that go to school in our school system. It's nerve-wracking. It's an enormous responsibility on my part. I take it very seriously. But some things we cannot share, especially trying to do an investigation. And the police and I and my staff have very discrete things that we look for to determine whether something is credible or not. But we are not going to communicate what deems things as credible and not. That would kind of show our hand, if that makes sense. It'd be counterproductive. So that's why we don't go into specifics in the letters. And I feel bad. I know parents of pre-K and kindergarten students, it's so nerve-wracking, especially if it's your first child. But I assure you, if I felt or the police gave me any indication that they thought for a second I should close the school, I would close it. Like, it is a team decision. It's not an easy decision. It is one of the hardest parts of this job, okay, to have the gravity of a situation like that in our hands. And of course, people's emotions are heightened after what's happened this fall at another school shooting. So I totally understand that. The other question that a parent asked is, when are you doing lockdown drills? Why haven't you done them yet? It's September 10th. And what I would say to families is, we're talking about them all the time, and we have to look at the appropriateness and the age of students. And there is some pre-teaching and delicate conversations, and how you handle a practice lockdown drill with a first grader is a lot different than our older students. And there's a lot of pre-teaching and vocabulary and skills that goes into that, and we don't take that lightly. Because not only do we have to worry about the physical safety of our students, we have to couple that with their social and emotional well-being as well. And so it is a heavy thing, and I'm grateful that the PD responded with me this morning and this afternoon as quickly as possible, and things don't just happen. We take our time, we make sure we get it right and make the right decision to protect our kids and our community. As I said in the letter, I'm not going to go into details, but we're going to do a drill tonight. We were able to do one. So we're going to do some things this evening and lock the school down for the rest of the night. And we will have additional presents tomorrow morning for drop-off, because it is September 11th, and I think parents are worried. So to try to assuage, families and assure them we'll have additional presents there. You as a parent always have the right to keep your children home. Having said that, they can't then come to after-school activities, okay? And so there's a couple of parents that are a little frustrated by that, but if you don't feel it's safe for your child to come to school, you can't then come participate in an activity at the school after school hours. That's policy, but that's your right, and that's your choice as a parent. Make the decision that's best for your family. And I do encourage parents. Most that I responded to immediately sent an apology back and said, I'm so sorry for bothering you. Thank you for getting back to me. These are your kids. You can reach out to us. It's our job. If you have a concern or a question, ask it, and we'll do our best to answer them. Don't apologize for asking questions about your children's safety. And I understand that it's a heavy thing for families, and it is your individual choice. So I'm hoping that helps answer some of the questions for the public around that. But I do want to thank the EPD for their swift work and collaboration on that today. And just know that we are working on a lot of things behind the scenes. But again, it's not the kind of stuff you broadcast and talk about, because it's things you kind of have to keep quiet as part of an emergency management plan. Also wanted to talk about some Chamber of Commerce things. That's something that the board talked about at the last workshop as well. As you know, I'm on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. I think it's a great collaboration to have the school department so tightly involved with the Chamber and our business community. This morning, I attended the Education Workforce Training Committee. that Annie Sargent ran as our adult education director, that she's helped facilitate with PJ Keenan, the executive director, and Bill Tracy also attended. And it's a really great group of business leaders in the community. UMaine Augusta was there, Workforce Development was there. Group of us to talk about how can we help with the workforce crisis that all of our different sectors are facing. And specifically for me, it's twofold, as I said in the meeting. One, selfishly, as the superintendent, we certainly are facing in education a crisis in workforce, but also how can we support the other sectors in our community with workforce development as well. There are also business after hours coming up. I've sent that information out to you. Stanley Subaru and Something to Wag About are two businesses that are highly supportive of our schools. They have done a lot for us and for our staff. And so leadership team plans to have a presence at those as we continue our commitment to collaborate with community. And then Autumn Gold is coming up, and there'll be all kinds of events around the city that the school will be a part of as well. Last two quick things. I did put a flyer in your packet about attendance matters. I think it's important to know that the school department has set very specific goals around attendance this year. At our board workshop in November, we'll be discussing, it'll be our data presentation, and one of the pieces of data we will look at is attendance. We really are trying to engage kids again and students at all levels to get them to attend school. Virtual pathway is certainly one way that we are looking to do school differently, because we are finding that our students today, some still want traditional school that you and I attended, but school is looking very different across the nation and the state, and so we have to appeal to a wide variety. But as we know, when you're missing instruction, you are missing a core piece of your education, and the state does rank us based on how often kids and students are absent at our schools, K-8 and 9-12. So we will certainly be talking more about this every month, but I just wanted to put that initial plug out there. Finally, I wanted to remind people about our High Five nomination process that we officially kick off for the 24-25 school year in October. Anyone from the public and or within our school department can go to any of our school or our school department website, and in the middle there is a bar and there is a button that says High Five nomination, and anyone can nominate any school employee. So it could be an administrator, it can be a teacher, it can be a food service worker, a bus driver, anybody that works in our schools can be nominated for a High Five award, and it is an online form that you fill out. We retain nominations for the year, so even if you nominate someone and they don't get it that month, it doesn't mean that you didn't do a good job. It's staying in the pile, and we will be honoring staff members every month at our school board meetings with our High Five award. We think it's a good way to celebrate those staff members that don't just do a good job, but those that go above and beyond in different categories. Any questions?
I just had two comments. One, I've heard multiple people talking about that attendance matters graphic and the number of like 2 months or something 2 years by the end of your school if you've missed this many days. Like, I've heard multiple people commenting on that since that went out. Also, something you didn't mention, but I know was part of Avery Lane, is the lights. I was at the elementary middle school this past week and hearing everybody talking about how amazing the lights are that are getting switched out. And specifically, I was in the front office and they were like the dimmer switch, and like you could absolutely tell a huge difference in the main office, and just hearing other people talking about how excited they were about the parts of the building that have been done and being so excited about the parts that are going to be done. And I just think, like, honestly, if you didn't believe that was something that needed to happen, if you have time and you're in the building picking up a student, stop in the main office and hit that light switch, and you will definitely tell a difference.
Yeah, it's transformed some of our spaces, and I have received a couple of staff emails that have said, this is insane how much this is going to change our work and learning environment.
It's
So
amazing.
we are excited for that project to be finished.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you, Amy. That brings us to committee reports. I know policy has a lot of policies that are coming up later in the agenda.
Just a couple.
Sorry.
As well as personnel, facilities. You met yesterday, but it's coming up in this agenda.
lot of
Is there
it is
anything
coming
you want
up,
to talk
yeah.
about that's not on the agenda?
Plow bids are out in the paper. We would like lots of plow bids, please, to take care of elementary, middle school, high school, and Avery Lane.
When are those due, Bev? Do you know?
I want to say within the next week or two.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say beginning of October.
Maybe-
I
it might be
thought,
October
October-ish.
3rd.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then EMC update is coming, but everything is moving along with some little hiccups, but nothing that's been major, other than some propane placement tanks, but that's code, nothing to do with work not being done, so.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll move along. Item H, public participation. Seeing none. We will move on to new business, our special presentation.
I'd like to call up Lee Elliott, our ESE coordinator.
Hello.
Please bear with me as I
Hook
see if I
up.
can plug this in.
Just don't hit your head. I'm always worried about people hitting their head. Because I've definitely done it. Not that
And that
everyone's
is
as
a
klutzy as
and that
I
is a
am.
big TV to crack your head onto.
It is.
The remote's on this one. Link on the left. If I need to do it without. No, no, the remote's. I have to use that one.
There's so many remotes.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to introduce, okay. Okay. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Lee Elliott. I'm the ESEA coordinator, and I want to thank you for having me. One of the things I would like to share with you today is our opportunities that we had this summer for students. We ran 2 different summer academies at EEMS for students entering grades 1 through grade 8. The first academy that I wanted to talk to you about is our Falcon Summer Academy. We offered it for students entering grades 1 through 6, and it ran for 4 weeks, starting on July 1st through July 25th. It happened from Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The year prior, we had done 8 to 11, so we definitely extended the hours of it. We offered breakfast, lunch, and transportation for students, so we were able to overcome some barriers so that any student can attend. We were able to hire 10 teachers and 3 ed techs to support students during that time. We, as part of our structure, offered a field trip / a different learning opportunity every week. And all of it was funded by the Summer ARP Learning Grant, which was approximately $56,000. It was really my mission with the Falcon Summer Academy to have a very academically focused summer learning experience for students. So we purchased Lit Camp and Math Camp from Scholastic, which is a research-based program, and all of our staff members were trained in it. We had a specific time for reading and math throughout the day, and there were lots of games and fun activities built into that, along with a special time, kind of like how you would during a normal school day. On Mondays, we offered some games and activities with Rebecca Maddox-Wilbur. On Tuesdays, we had gardening and taste tests in the garden with Martha Baldwin. And on Wednesdays, we had STEAM with Jane Stackpole. So STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So they got to play with robotics, different puzzles, kind of really get their creative juices going. So as part of this as well, we had a learning opportunity or field trip depending on the week. The first week, unfortunately, we didn't because it was 4th of July. The second week, all of our students were able to attend the Grand Frozen Junior as part of their summer camp. Week 3, we were able to partner with the Maine Audubon Society. They came out, they taught the kids, even in the pouring rain, they all got little ponchos on, and they went and learned about ecosystems in the outdoor classroom. They hiked by Leonard Lake, and they got to learn a lot about what is near us. And then week 4, we had Warden Rudolph come with his mystery bag of animals. He taught about all the different kinds of animals and emphasizing the ecosystems once again in our area, and the kids loved it. Some of our students, each classroom had a tent set up for kids to read in or do any of their work in. It was a lot of fun. Our average attendance, so in my opinion, this is a success. The first week we had approximately 35 kids attend every day for just this academy. Week 2 we had approximately 43 a day. Week 3, 40. And week 4, 37. And this is after we did not send the sign up out until the end of April. So it was a little bit of a late notice for this academy, but still I think the numbers are really powerful for the amount of students who are able to attend. And then just some pictures of some of the kiddos and things that they were doing. The other academy that we were able to run during this time was our Summer STEM Academy, which was geared more towards students entering grades 6 through 8. So we had the elementary component and the middle component. This one was funded by Molly, the Maine Outdoor Learning Initiative. So part of our goal was to be 70% outside during this time. So we really focused on outdoor learning and outdoor education. Our first week we spent at Woodlawn. We partnered with Woodlawn and Acadia and Maine Outdoor School to learn about different things during that week. They did skull identification, tree identification, hiking, birding, all sorts of really cool things. Week 2 was energy management consultants. They came in, they taught the kids all about alternative energy. We did a mini energy audit. Wish I had those figures for you, but I don't. They built solar cars. They raced the solar cars. They built little mini wind turbines. They built solar ovens. And they each got their own hard hat. They went around to all the different projects in our district, seeing what Energy Management Consultants is doing in partnership with the school. Week 3, we went to Acadia National Park for 2 days and Schoodic Point for 2 days. We participated in hiking, fishing, birding, tree identification, learning about the different ecosystems. We have so many rich resources in this area and vastly different. So they got to learn more about the ocean ecosystem compared to what we experience here over at Woodlawn. They participated in a green crab survey and tidal pool survey, which was really cool. Week 4, we partnered with Maine Outdoor School, and on each of those 4 days, students went to a different location in our area to continue learning about ecosystems and those lifelong skills, hiking, tree identifying, nature journaling. It was a very material-rich program. So in this picture, you get a little glimpse of some of the materials that each student had, but each student started the program with a bag, with a Write in the Rain journal, any writing implements they might need, a first aid kit, binoculars, a tree identification guide, a bird guide, so they can take this and continue on after they left our program. At the end of each week, students also received a STEM kit to correlate with what they were working on. So for instance, after our week at Acadia and Schoodic Point, students got a salt-powered robot. So they got to build it and use salt water to power it. Each week, students also went home with 3 books of varying reading levels to work with what they had been focusing on for that week as well, and maybe even a little bit different. I know during our week with Energy Management Consultants, we had given a book about coding because I know a lot of students are interested in coding. We didn't quite get to a bunch of coding, but it definitely ties in a little bit with the alternative energy aspect. This was a smaller academy, so our attendance is a little bit lower than the Falcon Summer Academy. Week 1 we had approximately 13 kids, 19, 16, 16. What I really loved was getting emails from parents after their student had participated for a couple of days asking, hey, can I extend this for my kid? I know they're not going to be able to be here next week, but can they do the 3rd and 4th week? Because they were really, truly enjoying themselves in it. For staffing, we had 4 teachers and 3 ed techs, not necessarily all at the same time, just because summer schedules. But I think it was really awesome to have even those people as a resource to us. And just a couple pictures of some of the activities that they did. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of the staff members who participated in all of this, because even though there was a bunch of planning, really they made the experience wonderful for kids, and kids have been talking about like, oh, well, what's it going to look like next summer? So that gives me a lot of joy and a lot of hope. The staff members that participated in both of our academies are Riley Cox, Marie Belageron, Melissa Richard, Teresa Richardson, Madison Clifford, Emily Brenna, Tracy Alvello, Rebecca Maddox-Wilbur, Martha Baldwin, Jane Stackpole, Eliza Dwyer, Judy Josie, Hannah Smith, Emma Peterson, Kasha Robertson, Leslie Billings, Jen Beal, George Blumenshine, Susan McKay, and Carissa Paquette. So, do you guys have any questions?
I happened to be going in and out of the school to do something else while this was going on, and I just saw so many happy, excited kids. It's so much learning going on, and it was a real fun opportunity for them. It was well done, and I think it was extremely well received by the students.
So I'm very curious, what was in the mystery bag of animals?
There were a lot of pelts, a lot of bones, and a lot of things that I turned and walked away from because that is not up my alley.
Did you bring the frozen ones this time?
Not that I know of. It was a little warm that day, but yeah.
My daughter got to do that in Girl Scouts. He came out, and it was to this day like the most memorable day in the Girl Scouts. They loved it.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
He walked in with this gigantic moose antler, and kids were like, oh, what's that? Like they were so ready to.
Yeah.
And did I hear when you were listing names? Did I hear names of staff from other
Yes.
schools in the district, right?
Yes,
who
other
helped out with
schools in the
that?
district, but also other schools locally. We had some teachers here from Holden, a couple from Bangor. So it was really exciting to have people from outside of our community join us for this and see some real positive things that are happening within our community.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was great.
I heard you say that the Falcon one was funded by a grant.
Yes.
And I didn't hear, was this one
Oh,
also?
Molly, yes, it was funded by the Maine Outdoor Learning Initiative. We had received the grant, I think this summer academy was approximately $27,000.
And is there a plan to repeat these programs next year? And
I
if
hope so.
Will we need to obtain further grant funding for them, or
So
how would that?
I am hoping to access other grant funds
Uh-huh.
that come available to guarantee that these programs happen again next summer.
Yeah.
And if not, expand.
Yeah, I imagine that expansion is likely, since a lot of times when a new program gets initiated, a lot of people, not everyone signs on originally, but once they hear their peers talking about it
Yeah,
and how much fun they had, then all of a sudden the interest could grow.
yes.
Yes, and I think that transportation piece moving
Yes.
forward is going to be huge for
Yes.
families. Like that could potentially make a very large difference.
Absolutely.
I just want to thank Lee. Really proud of her. She came on, if you remember, towards the end of the year. And so she worked incredibly hard to collaborate and find these community partnerships for our students and put together a kickback program. And so I'm really proud of her for that. I want to thank her for that. And then Nikki for grant writing. I mean, these grants are making a huge difference, and to have people that can take that off the plate of others so that other people can do other parts and pieces of their jobs has been an astronomical help to us, because Nikki and I know the building leaders, have an extreme commitment to after-school learning, which includes summer learning. So this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Acknowledgement of Personnel Committee's action on behalf of the board.
So we had 2 teachers that were hired right at the end of August that Personnel Committee approved. Now moving forward, we'll go forward with full nominations to the full board, but will be the last of the Personnel Committees. So asking for board to confirm their acknowledgement.
Can you tell us about the teachers?
So Connor Wagstaff was hired as an Ellsworth High School special education teacher in the area of English. If you know Connor, he was star baseball player, pitcher for Ellsworth High School state championship team. We were thrilled and are thrilled to have him join our staff. Great role model for students. And then also Elizabeth Stanley, we have hired as Ellsworth Elementary Middle School's grades 5 through 8 life skills teacher. Thrilled to have her. As you know, that position was vacant all of last year. So we are fully staffed for special education teachers this year, which has been a huge, huge win for our school department.
I feel like it's been a long time since we've had that. That's amazing.
I move to acknowledge the Personnel Committee's action on behalf of the board in confirming the superintendent's nomination of the following teachers with a 1-year probationary contract for the 2024-2025 school year. Connor Wagstaff, EHS Special Ed, and Elizabeth Stanley, EEMS 5 through 8 life skills.
A second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Could I just say that
Sure.
I'm always thrilled to see young people choosing to go into education. And Connor was a member of the class of 2019 from Ellsworth High School, and there's a number of others from that class who are also pursuing careers in education. Some of them are already working, some are, working towards that.
Well, let's scoop them up. Give me the names, Mr. Marcosi.
Oh, you already know some of them.
I know some.
One of them is my son, but
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
She'd like to scoop him up.
Is he ready to teach?
No, not quite. He's a little behind some of the others, but
It's all right.
yeah. And I have a feeling.
We'll sign him on
Yeah.
shortly.
Okay. I'll have to leave the board though.
He wouldn't be living under
no,
your
you
roof.
wouldn't.
Nepotism.
Yeah, but
It's
he
in our
wouldn't
policy.
He's
be
not
under
your
your roof.
employee, right? I don't know. I think we need to look at that policy. Mr. Marcos, yeah.
I thought.
Anyway, I'm glad that we got these two.
I am too, thrilled.
Yes.
Very exciting.
All right. That brings us to number 3, consideration and approval of superintendent's role as volunteer coach. So as you all know, Mrs. Bowles is not only an exceptional educational leader, but she's also been a fabulous coach for both basketball and soccer for a number of years while she was the director at HCTC. So as she transitioned into the superintendent role, she still continued to coach. The difference being, when she was at HCTC, she wasn't the athletic director's boss. So we just wanted to reach out to legal just to make sure that we had everything in order and we were doing exactly what we should be doing. And Melissa, one of our lawyers, said we should bring this to the board and just have the board acknowledge that, yes, we are okay with Amy coaching. And also she recommended that if there are ever any issues which we don't anticipate, but if there are any issues that come up, our athletic director would not handle those issues. They would come to the board chair and the vice chair, because it really puts the athletic director in an awkward position if he has to talk to his boss about an issue. It's just icky. So this makes it a little smoother. So, any thoughts?
I think it's very important that we make sure that we remain a district that encourages people to step up to the plate and coach and volunteer in our schools. That is so much about what we are about, and we should never be discouraging it. And we need to write whatever policy we need to write to make sure that that continues to happen.
And I I understand absolutely the need for this, and I understand the concerns of some in regards to this, but I know that for myself, I think it's really powerful to see our superintendent so involved with our students and the relationships with those students, because some schools, kids don't even know who their superintendent is. So I think that involvement, I understand where some concerns could come from, but the fact that Amy is already so busy, but is still willing to volunteer time for that.
It speaks volumes.
Yeah, I think there may be a perception that because this is unusual to have a superintendent or other administrator coaching as a volunteer, there must be something, reason why that doesn't happen. But I think the real reason it doesn't happen is because those individuals are so busy, and it's hard to take on something like this. But I think, as Elizabeth just said, it is a really great opportunity for our young people to get to know a person in a different role from, and more up close and personal. And although it's unusual, it's not unprecedented. I mean, I don't know of any other superintendents, but over across the way on MDI, Matt Haney, the principal of MDI High School, is also a baseball coach there. So I think it's, there's a lot of great things that can come out of this, and I think it's great for the kids, it's great for our community, and I'm just grateful that you're willing to continue doing this.
All right. We have a motion? Alyssa? Everyone good?
In light of the need we have for good coaching staff and contributions the superintendent has made to our athletic programs over the years, I move we approve a request to allow her to serve as a volunteer assistant coach for soccer and basketball teams in order to address any potential for a conflict of interest that could arise as a result of her being supervised by employees of the district who she supervises as superintendent. I move that we provide that the head coach of any team she is working on and the district athletic director direct access to the board chair and vice chair in the event of any concerns with her performance.
Thank you.
I second that.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. All right, consideration and approval of bus financing.
So you had in your packet the attachment of the financing proposal that Finance and our Facilities and Transportation Committee approved for our buses that were budgeted in the local budget for this year. Thanks, Mr. Frost.
Thanks for coming.
And so that was attached. So Facilities Committee did review this. And for bus number 1, the total cost is $125,343. Bus 2, $129,300. And so looking for your approval for the financing agreement this evening.
Make a motion. I approve the Santander bus financing as presented and recommended by Facilities and Transportation Committee.
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
I do just have a quick question. What is the timetable for when we're supposed to be transitioned to electric?
I think that's going to change.
Okay, good.
Because so many schools are having significant issues with electric buses.
Right.
We're a few years away, but I think that is all going to change.
Okay,
So I
perfect.
think we're okay.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor? Thank you. Number 5, consideration and approval of disposition of surplus.
So I am really proud that we are working hard to follow our disposition policy and remove items so that we don't have surplus equipment everywhere. We have a school bus that our Ellsworth Fire Department would like for training purposes that we were going to dispose of anyway, and per policy, if a city department would like it, we would like to do that. So this is our 2009 Bluebird school bus that we would like your approval to dispose of, and it would go to the Ellsworth Fire Department.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposition of the 2009 Bluebird bus per policy DN as presented and recommended by the Facilities and Transportation Committee.
A second. Any discussion? So this bus is just no longer functioning?
Yeah, no, it's
It's-
off the road.
Okay.
It's sitting on the side of the bus garage.
Taking up some space.
So, and as we refurbish and, go through our bus, that's one of the things that we got hammered about my first year here, was that we had so many old vans and buses. And so now Mike and Facilities and Transportation are in a really good habit of, as we replace a bus and bus is taken out of commission, we're gonna do this.
Great.
Yes,
And it's great that the fire department is going to be able to use it for
yes,
training.
100% for
Yeah.
training, yeah.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you. First read of policies.
There's just a couple of them.
So, you guys all should have had some fun reading. So, as you know, and when I say we, the policy committee and I are doing kind of double the work. So we're trying to review policies that haven't been looked at since 2017 first, and at the same time, trying to put new policies in place that adapt to new laws, but also changing times in our schools. So tonight for first read, we have been working on section B of the policy manual, because this particular section has not been looked at since 2017. What I did on these in your packets is tried to highlight in yellow where the changes were so that you could see what they were. And if something was being taken out, crossed that out and highlighted it for you to review. So all of these policies that we bring to you tonight for first read in the section B policies are amendments and updates to some of your current functions. And then we also updated, based on our work with the EPD, some language changes for our policies around collaboration with local law enforcement and our school resource officer. So those were in there as well. I wasn't going to go through each and every one, but wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions if you had specific questions about any of them.
We're not even done with section B, by the way.
Oh, no, no, there's a lot
What you
more.
see is only like half, maybe.
Maybe a third.
So many more.
Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the first read of the following amended policies as presented to the policy committee. BB, BDA, BDB, BCA, BBAB, KLG, KLGA, BDD, BDF, BABB, BABB-R, BABB-E. And if anyone in the
How
public.
fast can you do that?
Oh, not any faster than that. If anyone in the public wants to know, like, specifically more of what, I'm sure that we could list them somewhere, but there were a lot of them.
Well, these policies, the current
Yes,
version
they
of
all-
these policies
yeah.
are all on our website.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think you should have to repeat all of them in your second.
Any discussion?
I had some concerns with the regulations with law enforcement authorities about, I feel like we should have something in there that says that if a law enforcement wants to interview students, the child is under 18 and they're under our care, I feel like we have a duty to inform the parents, because the parents have, I feel like the parents should have the choice of being present or having their own attorney present, because they are asking these kids things that could, they could be held accountable for.
So those are part of our procedures and processes, Abby.
But we're writing a policy about it, and I feel like that needs to be in the policy. Because without it being in the policy, then a parent doesn't have a leg to stand on. If it's not done, the first thing a lawyer's going to say is that, why wasn't it in a policy then? Because if it's in a procedure, it can be discarded. And if it's in a policy, then it really can't.
But isn't it law that
No.
they're not supposed to be questioned without?
Nope.
They call. I mean, when we talked about procedures and how, if they need to interview a student, they 99.9% of the time are interviewing after school hours and have talked to the parent and do it out of the school, because we don't want that going on in our school, especially if it has nothing to do with us.
Well, I was going to say, isn't that part of,
And
when
that's
I
part of
was
the
reading it anyway, it was
policy.
part of it that they are not allowed to just show up and.
Correct. I typically get a call.
Yeah.
The only time, and I have no say in this, if there is imminent danger and they believe someone's going to threaten the school or the safety of someone, they don't need our permission. They're going to come in and they're going to speak to a student. So to make it a policy would be a whole other ball of wax. And so we have talked about that, and that is the procedure currently, is that, and it does say it in here, Bev, you're right.
Yeah.
That there is a collaborative discussion, and that things that have nothing to do with the school, we would prefer you to do it outside of the school day and outside of the school setting, even just for privacy
Yeah.
of the family and the student,
Yes.
for sure. But I've made note of that, so that policy, we
Yeah.
should talk about that.
Because maybe it's even just a notification of.
Because this is the first read only, so
Yep.
we can certainly bring that back and look at others and see.
I think maybe we should set that aside, because if we're going to vote on that tonight, my vote's going to be no. So we can't lump it in with the rest of them, if we're going to vote all yes or all no on the rest of them. Because I'm not going to vote for that until it is amended. And I will say, this is coming from experience, because one of my nephews was questioned by the police in Florida in their school for 5 hours without my sister being called. My sister found out after that child got home. So this is not like some hypothetical here. This happened. And we need a policy that says, once we know that the police want to talk to a child for any reason, we should be calling the parent.
So Abby, so this is just a first read, so if we can approve it and
But-
take it
but-
back to policy, and then it's gonna come back again, if in the second read you're not happy with it.
But that's the thing, I don't approve it, so I'm going to vote no.
That's okay.
So
no.
I'm saying you might want to put that one out to the side.
But we already have a motion and a second.
Well, then I'd have to vote no on all of them. Do you see what I'm
That's
saying?
okay, that's okay, you can vote no.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you, Abby. And everyone. Second read of policies.
Okay. So these next set of policies, there are 4 of them. KEB, complaint about school personnel. JLI, JLI-E, reports of dangerous behavior by students. GBN, family and medical leave, and GBP, earned paid leave, are brand new policies for our school department. The first 2, complaint about school personnel, really has been put in place with guidance from council, and also to provide support to all of our staff, from administration to teachers to hourly employees, that if someone is bringing forth a complaint about someone's performance, there is a process and a procedure to follow, and a notification that happens as a result of that, so that it's very clear and people know exactly how the chain goes. Secondly, reports of dangerous behavior by students is a new law that was put into place this last year. Some school departments are not putting this into policy. We felt very strongly that it be in policy, so everyone is very clear about the process and procedures, so that staff feel safe and administrators have clear guidelines on how to handle this law. And that was done in collaboration with our teachers union, so I feel good about that. And then GBN, family medical leave, and GBP, earned paid leave, are new laws as well that we need to have in place. Thank you.
Do the motion?
I move to approve the second read and adopt the following new policies as presented and recommended by the Policy Committee. KEB, complaint about school personnel, JLI-JLI-E, reports of dangerous behavior by students, GBN, family and medical leave, and GBP, GBP-R, earned paid leave.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much work we did until I see them all.
We're hard workers.
Oh,
It's a lot.
Bev.
Okay, thank you.
Because here's some more.
Then, so these were just amendments. These are not new policies. These are amendments that bring us up to updated state laws and also necessary reviews. Same thing, you've had these for a couple of months now. The highlighted portions were the portions that were changes.
So I will make a motion to approve the second read and adopt the following amended/updated policies as presented and recommended by the Policy Committee. GCFB, recruiting and hiring of administrative staff. KE, public concern and complaint. KI, visitors to the school. KDB, freedom of access. IJJ, instructional and library material selection. ADC, tobacco-free schools, use and possession of tobacco and electronic smoking devices. JIC, student code of conduct. BEDH, public comment at school board meetings. JICIA, weapons, violence, and school safety. GBO, family care leave.
Do a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, number 8, consideration and approval of Facilities and Transportation Committee recommendations.
So this was an addition to the agenda, and thank you for doing this. So we had last year budgeted in local budget for the purchase of another van. We are in need, we saw the need for 2 vans. We kept one in the local budget. And then the second van is going to be purchased with remaining ESSER funds, which need to be expended by September 30th. So Frank started, before he left, trying to get quotes for 12 to 15 passenger vans and even that 8 to 11 passenger van size. There are none in the state of Maine, and when you call dealerships for them, sure, we would love to order you one. Amy was our local dealer at Darling's, and he said it will be 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
Yes. So we called, or I should say David, our new Director of Facilities and Transportation, called almost every single dealership in the state of Maine and was able to get 3 quotes for vans, 2 used, 1 brand new. And thankfully, our Facilities and Transportation Committee worked expeditiously to approve 2 vans, one that is new and one that is used with very low mileage and in excellent condition. We did put the quotes in your packet so that you have those. And basically, we're hoping that you approve this tonight so that we can spend the ESSER funds most essentially by September 30th, but there are wait lists for these kinds of vehicles.
I was gonna
and
say we
so
better be quick and hope
we
nobody
want-
hears this on the.
We want to jump on them. And so that's why we bring it to you this quickly, because we did have the opportunity to have some come our way.
So I will make a motion to approve the purchase of transportation vehicles as presented and recommended by the Facilities and Transportation Committee.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you to our new Facilities and Transportation.
Yes.
Calling all of places and managing to find what he found. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and not only did he find the vehicles that we need, but, you know, the process of purchasing a vehicle when you're a school department is, there's a few hoops that you have to jump through, including the one we're doing right this minute. And a dealer might say, well, I'd love to hold it for you, but if someone else walks in, I want to sell it to them. And he was able to get these dealers to hold it for us.
Wait for us.
Wait for us
For your
to go
approval.
through the facilities
Yes.
and transportation committee's approval, and then tonight's board meeting. So, good job, David.
Yes, awesome.
And I'd like to add that by having the 2 vans, we don't need bus drivers. As we know, we still need bus drivers.
Yes.
That helps us out a lot, especially transporting smaller groups of children that,
Yeah.
a teacher or a coach has the ability to drive these vans.
So will these be able to be used for those, like, I'm thinking of the wrestling team. Our wrestling team isn't usually huge and like,
Depending on the numbers, yes.
Yes, 'cause
I
sometimes you
mean,
have to
our
take a-
goal, we had one van break down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why the immediate need for replacement of that van. But then we did want a new van, that took that 11 to 14 size, so that smaller
Yeah.
teams and groups of students,
Golf
field
team.
trips,
Yeah.
those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
that's awesome.
To help alleviate, the work of our bus drivers,
Yes.
but also to replenish our van fleet as well, is a high priority.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you. And that brings us to executive session for our superintendent evaluation.
Just need a motion to go into executive session with the listing of the law.
I move. Where is it?
the number is
Put
right
it-
there.
just put
It's
time.
missing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
I move
Thank
that
you.
we go into executive session under 1 MRSA 4056A.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Second. Good night, everybody.
You also,
You
thank
too.
you.
Who's second?
That was me.
Me. Oh.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Bye, Dan, thank you.
Thanks, you
Dan,
guys.
would you ask her to turn the microphones off? We're going into executive session. Thank you. We are back from executive session, and the time is 7:49. That brings us to calendar and announcements. Policy Committee is meeting September 16th at 11. Our next school board workshop is Tuesday, September 24th at 6 here in council chambers. We have a special school board meeting after that workshop. Facilities and Transportation will meet October 7th at 11. Personnel Committee is meeting October 7th at 9. Curriculum Instruction and Assessment is to be announced. And our next school board meeting is Tuesday, October 8th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. And that brings us to adjournment.
Having no further business, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
And third.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thanks, everybody.
7:50. Oh, just in time to go pick up Penny.